Hey, this is Doug Field. Welcome back to this segment of Healthcare Consumer News Radio. I'm joined in the studio with our guest host, Sanders McConnell, and welcoming our next guest on, Brian Ritter, who's Vice President of Business Development with Benaissance, a company that really is involved with financial management around health benefits administration and around exchanges. Brian, good morning.
Well, good morning to you guys. How are you doing?
We're doing great. Nice to have you coming to us from Omaha, Nebraska. How's Omaha today?
All of a sudden, the pre-winter winds are hitting, and it's certainly a little chilly. Hopefully not too bad for those trick-or-treaters tonight.
Yeah, I heard that. The big freeze was coming to the Midwest. So
it's coming here to Atlanta, too.
It's actually coming here to Atlanta. But we won't compare that to what it is in Omaha. Mm-hmm. Brian, listen, give our audience a little background on Benaissance, if you would, please.
Well, great. Well, first of all, thanks for having Benaissance on the program. We sure appreciate it. Benaissance was founded in 2003, but we've got a 2-decade history in premium billing, payment collection, and funds remittance for health insurance premiums. When we started, we were focused on national benefit administrators doing COBRA and retiree billing, but with the tools we have, a SaaS-based application, a mail fulfillment operation, as well as a payment lockbox, we can bring that full integrated suite of services not only to administrators, but for the last several years to state-based government as well as carriers who are operating both in the Affordable Care Act marketplace and then private exchanges, of course.
Well, Brian, I appreciate that. I was fortunate enough to join you and your partner, Ray, on your webinar last week, and I thank you again for that. And you're doing some very interesting things on the back end. I think it's very important that we focus on the front end of exchanges and the consumer experience. That's very important too. But there's some need to make sure that we're effectively helping employers manage that back end and the financial administration about the back end. Talk to us a little bit more about what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly the employers are really driving that adoption of the private exchanges. Within those exchanges, again, Benaissance supports state-based government in their ACA marketplace. But as you look towards the carriers and whether they're participating in the Affordable Care Act exchange or the private exchanges, the need to serve the employers is certainly strong in all those examples. And so the things that Benaissance does that is helpful for financial management is things such as consolidated billing. Mm-hmm. The ability to put multiple products onto one bill, even if those products are sourced from different insurance companies or have different coverage levels for those using those services. The second key thing that helping out, again, the insurance companies supporting the employers is multi-channel, multi-tender payment processing. Surprising how many companies still want to pay by paper or how many want to pay by electronic means, whether it's credit cards, debit cards, or ACH. And certainly as those employers get closer to being smaller and smaller businesses, the more they emulate consumers. And that vast array of payment options is certainly key. We then take off that burden of the employer having to send out their funds to all the different insurance carriers through that consolidated billing, but also through that service we perform called remittance processing. Mm-hmm. So that employer makes one payment through the exchange, we receive it, and then we burst it out to all those varied health insurance carriers in the background. And, of course, we're then supporting those EDI formats that the industry knows, 834s, 820s, what have you.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Brian,
the real cool thing is that we're able to perform those roles for these carriers and these employers in almost wherever direction they go, again, whether it's the ACA marketplace or private exchanges.
Hey, Brian, this is Sanders. Would you mind sharing?
Sanders.
Good morning. Would you mind sharing with us some of the trends you're seeing right now in the financial management sector?
Yeah, well, as Doug mentioned, the first trend we're seeing is an increased awareness of the value of financial management. The last year and a half, I'd say, we've heard so much of a comparison of the private exchanges to Amazon. And I think that's a fair analogy, but when I use Amazon, not only do I shop Amazon and see all the selection, but I can then choose and buy. But when I'm buying, I'm paying Amazon. Mm-hmm. I'm not paying all the sub-providers behind Amazon. Mm-hmm. And when Amazon is sending my product, Amazon often is the one that's fulfilling it. So as you look at these private exchanges and use that analogy of Amazon, it's for the shopping and the enrollment. Where you're seeing activity now is actually that back end of that financial management. Again, making it easy for the consumers as well as the employers that are adopting private exchanges. So that's the first trend. A second trend is we're certainly seeing a lot of software companies then rush into this newfound green space of financial management. And we're very, very excited about that at Benaissance. What we're seeing, though, from these new entrants is sometimes either incomplete solutions, meaning they only offer electronic billing or electronic payments, as opposed to a full breadth of options both for the consumer as well as the employer. But they're also somewhat inferior solutions. And what I mean by that is they are often ones that don't think about the real life of those that are covered, meaning if I'm a person who has insurance, I may have a baby. I may change my address. I may drop my coverage for a spouse or change a coverage level. All those things that have been known to benefit administrators historically sometimes are missing out of the software companies that are just trying to put together an e-billing. The last thing that I think we're also seeing trends is, though, and this is really we're excited for Benaissance, is growing value awareness of those that actually bring true, strong financial management models to it. As a matter of fact, about 2 months ago, Accenture, obviously one of the leading consulting companies in America, released their view of the growing challenges of private exchanges. And in there, they specifically pointed out the need for some robust back-end financial management solutions, typically billing, but also that funds remittance to all the carriers. So we're really seeing a something that we've been evangelizing, much like you guys have been evangelizing consumerism overall. We've been evangelizing financial management, and it's so refreshing now that the marketplace is seeing that true value of making that private exchange for employers and for consumers really a nice, tidy bow of solution for them.
Brian, as you and your team have been out there working with carriers in public and private exchanges, what are kind of some lessons you can share with us? What have you learned?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been doing this for 20 years, and we've developed some guidelines. We actually call them the Benaissance tenets, and we have 10 of them. But let's give me an illustration of 3 brief ones. The first one, as I mentioned before, don't be afraid of paper. What I mean by that is, surprisingly, a still large number of employers and individuals want paper. They want to get a paper bill. They want to make a payment by paper. So we are seeing right now through private exchanges and ACH exchanges that Benaissance is providing solutions for, 60% of all the payments that are made are still coming in by paper.
Wow.
So if you want to bring together a full crisp solution to your employer or to your consumers, having a good, solid, integrated payment option for paper is key. Now, to talk about integration, that's point 2. Make sure you integrate your payment acceptance with your premium billing database, whether it's electronic payments or paper payments. What I mean by that is, especially with the ACA, but just in general, health plans want to maintain a consistent application of policies. And that means one item is, how do you treat payments that are either timely or not timely? If you go to a bank that doesn't have the lockbox integrated into the premium billing database, they may be accepting payments, Doug, that are not timely, and all of a sudden putting them potentially in a liability bind. Or better yet, do you know 30% of all the paper payments we receive today at Benaissance do not have the paper coupon? Now, there's a number of reasons for that. Some employers using bank bill payment services or consumers doing that. Sometimes they have lost it. Regardless, a high number of payments come in without the coupon. What does it typically mean in the historic bank lockbox? It means lots of exception items for the health insurance company to work through. It means employers not having their payments posted quickly to a carrier's accounting system. It means them having to call the carrier and say, did you get my payment? The last thing that I'll mention here is the third tenet we call enforce the truth, don't invent it. Early on, 1995, 1996, when Benaissance was just starting this, if we got a payment in on behalf of an insured and that payment was a partial payment, a smaller amount than what was expected or what was owed, we would assume, we know what this person's intending to do. They're intending to pay 2 months of dental, or no, they're only intending of paying medical, not dental. Whenever we attempted to invent the truth, as we call it, invariably we would often get it wrong. So what do? We enforce truth. That means taking that payment in, if it's timely, notifying then the insured, whether it's the employer or the consumer, saying a partial payment has been received, and then giving them a variety of options for them to call us or to make that payment in whole, always making sure that we enforce the truth. We don't invent it.
Brian, we've got a couple minutes left to go, and I want to give you a chance to leave our audience with some key takeaways.
Yeah, I guess a key takeaway I would have here is as the employers start looking towards private exchanges, and again, we're real excited about it. We see it fitting into one nice channel for Benaissance. But as these employers look at adopting private exchanges, a couple comments I would make. This past week I was out for a major conference on private exchanges, and I heard what I hear now is a very, very common theme. Once you've seen a private exchange, you've seen one private exchange. You probably use that even on the show you're hosting each and every week. That being said, if I'm an employer, I want to be very, very thoughtful and intentional when I'm trying to select a private exchange. And I'm seeing from where we sit many reasons why an employer may choose a private exchange. Provide greater choice to my employees, heighten consumerism by showing transparently to my employees what the costs are fully on these plans, managing perhaps as an employer overall the costs better. And then one last thing is taking the drama out of my HR team as they attempt historically to select the one or two great medical plans that could cover my company effectively of 50 employees, 500 or 5,000, but always knowing that that's one or two plans don't solve everyone's challenges. So I think once you understand those goals, then look at how these private exchanges support it. So let me give you one example just to close out. If you're trying to make part of your HR life easier by selecting one or two plans, or instead of selecting one or two plans, giving the employees a vast array of plans to choose from, 4, 5, 6 plans, it solves it easier for the HR team on the front end. But what are you going to do in December and January when you don't get not one bill, but you may get 5, 6, 7 different 8 bills for major medical and all the ancillary products? So my caution here would be, if you're an employer, seek out a private exchange that truly has a robust financial management engine on it that can actually make your life easier on the HR side, as well as giving your employees a great set of options on the front end to hand select those things that are important to them for insurance coverage for them and their families.
Thanks, Brian. That's a very good place to leave our audience. And appreciate your time today, and you have a great weekend up there in Nebraska, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Happy Halloween, Brian.
Likewise. Take care, guys.
To our audience, stay tuned for the next segment of Healthcare Consumerism Radio.